Beloved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, beloved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, this is a very urgent message, a very urgent message dealing with Jeremiah 14:11 in relation to Jeremiah's command by God and these last days for us true ministers in relation to the Seventh-day Adventist apostate, new theologian ministers and people that are in these apostasies in the last days. Jeremiah 14:11 says, Then said the Lord unto me, Pray not for this people, for their good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they come offer burnt offering and oblation, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword and by the famine and by pestilence. And said, Ah, Lord God, behold, the prophet said unto them, Ye shall not see the sword, neither shall you have famine, but I will give you a sure peace in this place. Then the Lord said unto me, these prophets prophesy lies in my name. I send them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and a thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, and I sent them not. Yet they say, Sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed. And the people to whom they prophesy shall be cast out in the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and by the sword, and they shall have none to bury them, their wives and their sons and their daughters, for I will pour their wickedness upon them. Beloved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, this lets us know that the new theologian ministers who teach that we cannot overcome sin, that teach that Jesus Christ is not in the most holy place, the heavenly sanctuary right now, interceding for us, investigating our characters, and blotting out sin. They teach that the NIV version Bible is the best version. They teach that the pre-fall nature of Christ is what Christ had before the fall, of Adam before the fall, Adam. They teach that Sunday service is okay, that we can worship on Sunday and still be Seventh-day Adventist Christians. These new theologians, Seventh-day Adventist ministers, and people, Jesus tells us in His Word, pray not for these people. We need not to pray for them. We need not to attend their gatherings and their liberal, worldly music gatherings in the churches. We need not to mingle with them. The only time we should mingle with them is for their good, to bring them present truth in these last days. Do not even go to their churches. Do not even smell their sacrifices, because God does not hear it. God does not smell it. God does not receive it. God is not receiving praise dances and immodest apparel. God does not receive it. God does not receive the flesh eating. God does not receive the wedding band wearing. God does not receive the breaking of the fourth commandment, the Sabbath. God does not receive these things in his nostrils. It is in a false oblation. The new theologian ministers who tell us that when Jesus Christ said in His Word to keep His commandments, He was not dealing with the 10 commandments. These ministers must not be tolerated by the present truth members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Go and listen to present truth ministers like Moses Mason and Jeremiah Davis, and listen to ministers like Andrew Henriquez, Pastor Andrew Henriquez. Go and listen to ministers like Pastor Gerald Kofer. Go and listen to pastors like Pastor Lawrence Smith at Dime Tabernacle Ministries. Go listen to these present truth ministers and fit yourself for these last days, beloved. Listen to old-time present truth ministers like C.D. Brooks and these old-time present truth ministers who didn't play around and was not given false doctrine. Beloved, it's time. The Seventh-day Adventist Church leaderships are trying to draw the Apostate Protestant world and signing the death of Protestantism. They're trying to sign the death of Protestantism. You see, the Seventh-day Adventist leadership, they want to turn their backs toward the East and worship Tammuz at Christmas time and Sunday surge. They're trying to unite with the apostate Protestant world. The church, Babylon, is fallen, beloved. Is fallen, and to become the habitation of every foul spirit in the cage of every unclean and hateful bird, beloved. It's fallen. We do not need to revert back to Egypt and Babylon in our church worship styles, in our dress styles, in our eating. We need to go back to the truth for these last days. Ellen White talks about them in early writings that they call false shepherds, beloved. We just had recently a minister come to Oakland University Church recently, Sunday evening, called Al Sharpton, an apostate Sunday minister, a first-day minister who taught Seventh-day ministers to vote and get involved in politics and religious liberty. Oh, let me tell you, not religious liberty, but black liberty. Let me tell you something, beloved. Hear me on this clear. Ellen White counsels Seventh-day ministers and testimonies to ministers and gospel workers, and also gospel workers, and also fundamentals of Christian education to not be involved in political questions. We need not to be involved in political questions. You see right now that Donald Trump has just decided to pass a new law called the Muslim ban that is being held in check by the courts right now. He's trying to unite church and state by tearing down the Johnson Amendment and the Muslim ban. All these things are coming into fruition to destroy God's people in these last days, and we do not need to unite with the first-day churches in these last days. But just remember this, beloved Seventh-day Adventist church members, we have more to fear from within than from without. They told me when I was an intern pastor at First Church not to preach against Sunday surge. I'm going to preach against it, even if I lose my job at Oakwood University CAF as a dishwasher. Even if I get mistreated by Seventh-day leadership in the area, I'm going to preach against Sunday surge. It is wrong. In the first centuries, they did this, beloved. Persecution in first centuries and great controversy. They wanted to worship on Sabbath and Sunday because they wanted to please the pagans. And eventually Sunday became widely kept. Beloved, we need to turn away from Sunday surge. It's turning your backs toward the east and worshiping Tammuz. Maranatha, happy Sabbath.